Maybe you should go and do some contemplating.
Right reasons, right reasons. Can't put a girl for all the right reasons. Right reasons, right reasons. You can put a girl for all 4 reasons.
I'm the Bachelorette, and I'm rapping to you poolside. Here to find true love, one man from my
Hi, this is Rachel McElroy.
Hi, this is Griffin McElroy.
And this is Rose Buddies.
And welcome to Hometowns. We'd like you to meet our dad, Spencer. Hey, what's up? My name is Spencer.
We should really talk about the bits you're going to do.
And this is our mom. Her name is Megan. Griffin, I can only do one voice. I'm talking about myself in third person because Corn's family has ruined me. Who boy, what an episode of The Bachelor, the television show for ABC.
I have talked about for years that I love hometowns.
Mm-hmm. You say I love hometowns as much as I love our dad, Spencer.
Yes.
What's your favorite thing about Spencer, our dad?
Is big, bushy ear hair.
Yeah, it's crazy. I call him broccoli head because it just looks like he's just sprouting it out. God, I love you, Spencer, Dad.
But I feel like I have been let down in years past from hometowns.
Because of how bad and shitty they are.
They're usually very disappointing. But
boring and bad and shitty.
This season.
This may have been the best episode of The Bachelor I've ever seen. I don't want to tell tales out of school, and part of it was I have drank a bottle of Le Fin du Monde again and just getting that good Belgian kindness flowing through my veins. A lot of it was, I think this episode needs an executive producer credit for Ariel, your very good friend and
my friend and fellow Rose Buddy Ariel, who's in town visiting, made us dinner and is keeping an eye on Henry so we can record. Thank you, Ariel, so much. And I feel like I could really let my hair down and just soak in this fucking excellent episode of The Bachelor where all 4 dates were pretty fucking good. They were, like, each of them brought us closer to the women and made me respect each of them more.
Yeah.
Like, that has never happened.
It made me realize just how much, like, storytelling has been done through, like, the edit this season and how, like, unfair I think it was in a lot of cases. Especially, like, I don't know, like, Corn's date was, like, cute and sweet, and it became kind of evident that she's just kind of like a very young person who, like, I don't think is evil, like the show is trying to make us believe, and it's just kind of like
probably a little shallow.
Maybe a little shallow, but, like, fucking...
But generous.
Yeah, and that's describing 94% of the people that have ever been on this show.
That's
so,
very
like,
true.
It's an unfair characterization. But, man, what a fucking good episode, y'all.
Yeah.
Good for Nick too. Like it was. I feel invested in this season, and it won me back. Like I feel like I've been like pretty overtly negative about this season the last few episodes, and this one is like I'm fucking on board. Yeah. I don't know about that twist though. They tried to twist it on me there at the end.
Yeah, there's of course a cliffhanger because now there's always a cliffhanger, and this week's cliffhanger is just dumb.
I'm into it, man.
But do you think it's really going to turn into anything?
Absolutely not. No, it'll be dumb stuff.
It'll be like 2 minutes.
Oh, they'll deal with it before the first commercial break. But still.
Let's get into it.
Let's get the fuck into it then.
First hometown goes... Oh, actually, before we even do hometowns, we have to resolve last week's shitty cliffhanger, which was...
I don't even remember. Oh, my God.
Nick sent Christina home. Could another woman be going home too?
This was really frustrating because it's literally the exact same shit that they did last week. During last week's episode, there was the beginning cliffhanger of what if he just quits the show?
Yeah.
And what if he just sends one or more additional women home before hometowns? And it's like, he's not for hometowns because what are they going to do? Go to spend a fucking hour in Hoxie and an hour in Miami? No. The
poor women, you can tell, have been coached to sit around and talk about this because you can tell they have nothing left to say. Because Corinne's like, yeah, I mean, he's just unpredictable. We don't know for sure. And Rachel's...
He's not unpredictable. He's hyper predictable.
And Rachel's like, well, but usually there's 4 women, but I guess maybe there would potentially be less women that could do hometowns. And Corinne's like, I'm just so nervous. And all the women are like, yeah, me too. Who knows what he's going to do? And they're just waiting for Nick to show up, which he does.
And then again, doesn't send any of them home. Fucking of course not.
Brings 4 roses, lets Raven, who already has a rose, accept a rose again.
And it does make the point, because some of you in the Facebook group, and it's true, said if he skips the rose ceremony, then these women don't get a chance to accept the opportunity to be there.
There was an emphasis on, like, consent in a really interesting way that was like, it's hometowns, like, if I didn't give you roses, I would be inviting myself to your fucking, like, family barbecue.
Yeah.
And so he really stressed, like, it is important for... So much so that he gave one to Raven. He offered one to Raven. Raven already had a rose.
You know what I just thought about? What if he showed up at their house with 3 roses? Raven doesn't have her rose on her. And suddenly it's kind of weird.
Yeah, for him to stress, like, it's important for me to, like, be given consent to come to your hometown. Well, I mean, but she already did accept one for the group date. And so she
I'm
knew
saying
what the
visually
stakes were.
It's weird. Visually, it's weird if he shows up.
He says,
3.
Raven, I've already given you a rose, but like it's been a couple of days, and I know things can change really quickly, so I still wanted to offer you one. I thought it was a nice moment. Like it was a nice, like sort of.
I think it was more about optics of like I'm physically going to come here. It's not a rose ceremony, so you won't be holding a rose, and I don't want you to feel left out.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, either way, they all get roses, and then they all disperse to their individual hometowns.
Yes. So first up, Hoxie, Alabama, Kansas. I just sort of merged a bunch of A starting Southern states together because I wasn't sure which one were.
It is Arkansas.
Excellent, excellent.
With Raven. And Raven and Nick start out their date on a 4-wheeler. And I was going to ask you, because I don't have a lot of familiarity. Mm-hmm. Is a 4-wheeler and an ATV
the same thing? I think it's, if you were to draw a Venn diagram, I think
Is this like a square is a rectangle?
Right, I think ATVs are 4-wheelers, but not all 4-wheelers are ATVs.
Okay.
Because I think like ATVs are somewhat lighter of a 4-wheeler in the 4-wheeler family, but there can be like big ass heavy 4-wheelers that have like cargo space and shit like that. That can be used more as like cargo based vehicles that you would use on a farm. These were heavy boys because the light ones are dangerous as fuck. You'll flip an ATV over on you, and that's it. That's the ball game. And they were doing some stunting in these 4-wheelers.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll get to that.
Yeah, these were not like motocross. Motocross is like I think those are ATVs, and they're like light. Does that make sense?
I'm sure if you're not correct, we will hear about it.
Probably. Somebody's like, I'm actually an ATV salesman, and what you've just said was the most offensive thing I've ever heard.
So they get on their ATV and they go to what looks like a large silo. It's a grain bin. And Raven, it's kind of a weird setup, but you just kind of take it. I mean, she seems so believable in everything she says. So she's like, oh, everybody here goes to the grain bins. And you go, and
when you have something important to talk about, you go to the grain bin.
The grain bins hold a lot of secrets here. And they start walking up the stairs, and I was like, yeah, of course, you go to the grain bins. I didn't even question it.
I thought they were going to fucking climb into a grain bin, and there'd be some, like, fucking Carcosa, True Detective, like, shit happening in the grain bin, like a secret, like, castle inside.
And they don't get in there yet because the police show up. Which, I mean, right away, it's like, well, this seems staged. And the officer gets out and says, neither of you have any ID on you. And they don't, because they were on Nick makes some case like, oh, we were going to get on this 4-wheeler, so I didn't want to carry my wallet. I don't know. I
think it tracks. You don't want to hit a cool ramp, and then all of a sudden your identification's gone somewhere, and
your
a
wallet
frog eats
bursts
it
from your tight pants.
Yeah.
And then the officer is like, well, this one here has been giving me trouble for years. And Nick looks at Raven and is like, do you know her? And turns out the officer is her brother. Prank,
got him. I called this, by the way. Like,
yeah.
As soon as the cop showed up, I was like, oh, it's her brother. And it was a good prank. Can I say this? The brother is fucking sold,
he sold it, yeah.
Excellent,
Weston is his
Weston. Name. The technical Emmy goes to Weston for his. Well, it wouldn't be a technical Emmy, would it?
No,
unless he did some. Did
he do some Foley work?
Yeah, he was the best boy. He was the best boy of this date.
He was the best boy.
The best boy, Weston. It was fun. It was cute. All these dates were so cute.
Yeah. It was a real aw shucks moment.
It was a real aw shucks moment, although I did want them to climb in a fucking grain bin.
Yeah, we never got to see them go in there.
I thought they might jump in and, like, would you just sink into the grain? I think I'd freak out. Like, if Raven was
or would they go against the grain? I love you.
I love you too. That was a challenging one. It was very good.
Thank you.
It was cute. It's a cute date. They seem really cute together. Like, I think one of the most striking things about this Hometowns episode is, like, all four of them seem like really good. Mm-hmm. And it's just, that may seem like obvious, but it's like this show also is not good at, like, balancing the screen time that all of the like candidates get. And so, like, Vanessa, for instance, like, everybody was so cool on Vanessa the whole, like, time we were watching the episode. I was in the Rose Buddies, like, live threads, and everybody's like, oh, Vanessa, she's so boring. And it's like, guys, remember, like, on episodes where she got to go on dates, it was actually like everybody was very, very, very team Vanessa. It's just she doesn't get screen time for a while because it focuses on other stuff. And so on Hometowns, it's like, oh no, all of these women are like, all of these relationships are pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Vanessa, I was reminding myself earlier, Vanessa was the one who, when Corinne got the bouncy castle, was like, hey, Nick, like, this looks trashy and I don't want a piece of it. And I thought, like, good for you, speaking your mind.
I think of all of the contestants remaining, she is the most, and I know this, people bristle at this terminology, and I hope you don't take it as, like, misogynistic or whatever. Like, it's just like a convenient shorthand for archetypes that the show uses, but the wifey, right?
Yeah.
By which I guess I just mean, like, the pure-hearted winner of the show. I think there's, like, a assumption that they will just be, like, very, very boring. Just like
the Disney princess.
Disney princess is a really good way of putting it. And that ain't it. That ain't true.
Yeah. Vanessa's a rich figure.
Yeah. A rich figure?
I don't know. I meant like rich in the depth sense.
Yeah, USA, we got character. It's just like...
But then once it came out, it just sounded like I was saying she was wealthy like Corinne is.
Yeah.
Or that she was like a buxom...
She's rich in character.
Like a buxom woman. And I was saying rich figure as a nice way. I don't know why I picked that.
Well, I hope she hears this. What a nice little feather in her... I am a rich figure.
Okay, so now they get on separate ATVs and they start mudding.
They start fucking... First of all, I'm serious. Like, when I was growing up in West Virginia and in Huntington, this isn't like a... the last thing I ever want to do on any, like, podcast or anything I do is, like, reinforce negative stereotypes, but, like, you heard about people flipping over ATVs and dying because they were, like, dangerous as fuck. They're huge, super, super heavy machines that, like, will topple all on top of you.
And can go super fast,
They go super
right?
fast. So that's the thing. Like, Nick was like, I've never been on one of these before. And then you start fucking pod racing on them. And it's like, buddy, calm down.
Yeah.
You need to slow the fuck down. This is dangerous.
Yeah. So they're kind of racing each other. And then they both get on the same one, and they just get wet and wild.
They get wet and wild. And the whole time, Rachel and Ariel are just like, the faces, y'all, is so... There's so much concern. There's a lot of things to be concerned about while watching this show, but you all were, like, concerned about hookworm in, like, a very real, very severe way.
Yeah. I enjoyed watching the comments in the Facebook group because everybody, I mean, it's swampy standing water.
Yes.
And they are lathering up in it. At a certain point, they get off their ATVs and they literally roll around in standing water.
They literally roll around. They, like, get on top of each other and start just fucking making out, just full blown.
And they're like splashing each other and rubbing each other's hair
and just
it.
grinding and just full blown Shreking it right there in my swamp.
Griffin pointed out it gets kind of Harlequin because Nick takes his shirt off and they're like mounting each other.
I said Harlequin, but Harlequin in visual, because I'm sure if I was there, the scent would not be Harlequin. Yeah. The scent would be just full-blown standing dookie water.
And all of this to say, like, I'm a city mouse, you know? So for me, I see this.
This didn't bother me so much.
Yeah, Griffin's a country mouse.
There's a difference between... Okay, I've been mudding. I've played around in an ATV in the mud. Not often, but, like, we like we went to church with a family that had a farm, and so like we would go mudding on their farm. This is the most Southern Baptist shit you've ever heard in your whole life. But it would be like dirt that got wet. That ain't this.
Not swamp.
This is fucking swamp.
Yeah.
This is swamp. There's mosquitoes everywhere in this place, and you're macking in there. It ain't good.
Yeah, that like wasn't the end of their date either. They had like an evening ahead of them, so I don't know how they got cleaned up enough to go on with the day. But
I think Raven knew. That he was going to go on 3 other dates, and so she wanted this permanent Shrek stank just all over him.
So Raven's date, and we know is going to be pretty emotional, but it is even extra emotional. So as we remember from last episode, I think it was, her dad is a lung cancer survivor, and she's really excited to bring Nick home because 1, this is only the second guy she's ever brought home, and 2, like she wasn't sure her dad was going to be around for her to ever do this again with a guy. So they show up, and her mom and dad and brother are there, and it just like, oh, he had just gotten some results back.
Yeah, and the family like pitches it to her, and like kind of like, we got some big news while you were gone, and it's like, you need to just say it because this is like a lot. And they announced that he had a scan and he was cancer free, and it got y'all. I was like tearing up. Like
Raven is
so,
crying. Nick is crying. Like
Nick wasn't crying so much. I saw a lot of people in the comments like saying like, "Wow, Nick's being really awkward right now." And like, y'all, do you need to? I'm serious. Like, be critical of him. Like when he fucks up for real. Take a fucking second and put yourself in his fucking shoes for a second.
No,
Hi,
true.
what's up, family I've never met before? Oh, you just found out that you're not going to die from cancer? Cool. Well, I don't know how to react to that. I'm very happy for you, but I don't know how to react to that news.
No,
like,
that's true. I did think it was weird when he clapped, but that's just because I'm not.
No,
I'm not a clapper.
Like, I'm a clapper. I'm absolutely a clapper.
True.
And so, like, I would be so overjoyed for that person that might be how it manifests. But, like, really think about in your mind how it would manifest for you, and then maybe take a fucking second and think about how to, like, judge Nick's.
That's true.
Nick has done some gooberish shit, and I will be the first one to, like, jump on him for that. But I feel like a few times now, like, he has been thrown into, like, a situation that is sort of beyond your average comprehension, and I think we need to be just a little bit more patient with the boy for when he gets in those entanglements.
That's fair.
But then, like, oh man, and then Raven just has like a private like conversation with her dad, and I'm just losing it, man.
Yeah, they talk a lot about how they were worried that she wouldn't have somebody to walk her down the aisle when she got married.
That her brother or uncle would have to walk her down the aisle, and then she said, nobody's going to walk me down the aisle. If it's not you, I'm walking down alone. And it's like, just like, it's a lot. It's so fucking sweet. And it is like heartbreaking and real, and miraculously not in a way that felt like, exploitative of this family's like turmoil that they've gone through.
I feel like all the families, we like saw them as they were.
Yeah,
there was no
so
weird
too.
like JoJo's brothers like posturing. Like
That's a good point.
I'm going to be a famous person.
Almost always is. If not posturing, like some level of like, well, they're just like stepping up to be a fucking dick. Like,
I'm going to be the overprotective brother.
Like Jade's brother, who like lost the season for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Dez's brother. Or who was it?
It was Dez's brother.
Dez's brother
Dez had an awful brother.
Wasn't very cool, but there was...
Oh, are you thinking of...
who was the girl...
The sister?
Who was the girl
Claire's sister?
Claire's sister was also not super, super into it.
Yeah. Like people that are just like almost like Jerry Springer, like
Casey B's brother. Yeah. That's who I was thinking of.
Like I'm going to throw a huge over the top fit that's going to make good television.
Yeah, there wasn't any of that. It all felt like super, super legit this week.
And Raven has a nice conversation with her mom where she kind of admits like I thought Nick would be really arrogant, but I got to see him with his little sister. And things feel really different with him than they did with my ex. And I've been really guarded. But I feel like this has been different. And the mom says a really kind of a nice thing to the camera, says, of course I'm worried about her, but you have to put your heart out there, and Raven really hasn't been doing that. So I'm kind of encouraged, that she's doing that with Nick.
And her dad has a conversation with Nick and basically says, like, Nick does ask for permission. As Nick asks everybody for permission
to propose.
And her father says, like, if Raven is, like, into you, then I have to trust her judgment. And so, like, if Raven says yes, then I say yes. I just thought it was, I don't know. I thought it was nice. I thought it was a nice interaction.
Well, and I noticed the one thing Nick is using language like, if we decide to get engaged and she is, excited to do that, is that something you could support?
Yeah.
So like using language that suggests like, this isn't just my call.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I thought it was a really good date. But then Raven, who's been talking this whole time about how she wants to tell Nick, this is my chance to tell him I'm in love with him. When it comes down to it, she does not close the deal.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that happens a lot on hometowns where it's like, now's the last chance. I need to tell him, because what if the other women are saying it and she just can't do it? She said that she has a hard time showing weakness, and this is like a way that she couldn't bring herself to do it.
Yeah.
So now it's on to Dallas for Rachel's hometown. So this is the week we think Rachel probably goes home.
Right, so...
because she's been announced as the Bachelorette.
Yeah, sorry, we're going to stop with the spoiler warnings because it's like...
Is everywhere.
In the fucking national news now. Rachel is going to be the next Bachelorette. If you skipped our spoiler warning last episode, we're fucking overjoyed about it.
And they were kind of setting us up like something crazy is going to happen this week.
Yeah, so on the Jimmy Kimmel After Show, he specifically says, so I guess hometowns don't go so great. And I think she like confirms that, yes, the hometowns do not go so great.
Well, and it's kind of anticlimactic, and I'm guessing something came up last minute. Because for weeks now, they've been setting up this, like, her dad's a federal judge.
Yeah.
What does he want to be called? How intense is it going to be when Nick meets him? And then Nick gets to Dallas, and immediately we find out her dad's not going to be
showing up because of
there.
Work-related things. And
yeah, because he's a federal judge.
Yeah, I mean, probably, but also, like,
he doesn't want to be on this TV show.
Yeah, he's a fucking federal judge. Like, maybe you don't want to be on the TV show.
So they meet in like a park, as a lot of people do. And Rachel doesn't tell him where he's going, but says, you're dressed appropriately. And then tells us, the viewer, I hope he's got his rhythm together and he's ready to snap, clap, and stomp.
Y'all, we're going to go to church.
Yes, and not just any church.
We're going to go to Rachel's church. It is a predominantly black church.
Yes.
Which the show, Nick and Rachel are all very quick to sort of point out.
And it's a Texas-sized church.
It is a super church. It is a very, very big church.
Yes.
Nick, I think it is fair to say that Nick looks a bit uncomfortable beginning his experience.
Nick, in a very understated way, says, this is a little bit different than my church.
Yes. I actually cackled at that line mostly because of the way that he said it. And I don't know necessarily that it was made any easier in onboarding by the fact that the pastor recognized that Nick was in the audience and that
it was very welcoming.
It was very welcoming, yes.
But definitely asked him in front of the whole congregation, have you been in this space before? And
Nick's like, not in this space. No, not in this particular space. Everything about this date of him being taken to Rachel's church, and like, to be honest, like the whole date was very much about interracial couples and like the ramifications of Nick dating a black woman and Rachel dating a white man. And it was we gave him credit where credit's due. Like I gave them shit. Like I was like, oh, I don't trust them as far as I can throw them to handle something like this, because like straight up, and this is something that like I think I'm inherently like cautious to talk about, because I'm worried that like me like white dude is not going to like necessarily know the best way to approach discussing it. But I feel pretty confident in saying like this show has at best, like if we're being the most generous to the show, like has historically pretended that race doesn't exist, right? Like I think like when like the last person of color is sent home from a season, it is never like even discussed that, well, there goes the last person of color from this season, and now it's down to like the final 9 white people.
But are you forgetting when Ben Higgins said, quote, "I ain't that white"?
Baby, you know I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. And we've talked about stuff like this in the past, and I have, I don't want to erase like Kyla or Juan Pablo, who were,
or Jojo,
who was I think half Iranian.
Yeah.
But I think there's something to be said, and this is something that like we're gonna have to like learn how to talk about confidently next season, because like I really want to make sure that we do a really good job discussing this, discussing the ramifications of having a like a black lead in one of these shows. Is this idea that I really feel like this show for the most part errs on the side of caution, I want to say, and just like pretending that it's just like doesn't exist, is not a thing. And so it was surprising, I think, to see this date just be like every scene, every conversation was about this. And I think that, I don't know if you can chalk this up to the show or the people who were on the date, but I think it was handled pretty well. Nick especially, I think, was I was worried that he was going to sort of approach it from the angle of, oh, I don't see color. So it's like, is this a predominantly black congregation? I didn't even realize. He straight up said, like, obviously I am not colorblind. And later Rachel is talking to her family about Nick and sort of his approach to dating a black woman. And she says that he basically said that as long as there are people out there who have a problem with like interracial couples, like then it is a thing that they should also sort of recognize and discuss.
Yeah, well, both of them are very honest in saying like neither of us has had a serious relationship with a person of a different race before.
Right.
But we feel very comfortable talking to each other about it and acknowledging what we like about each other and how race does or doesn't play a role in our relationship. And they were both very just candid with each other and with the family, and it went really well.
It went really well. Like I think that particular conversation is hard for a show like this and people who participate in a show like this to like nail this idea of walking the line between oh, I don't see color, and like either like fetishizing or exploiting it. And I honestly think, and I'm sure that I'm sure everybody's like metric is going to be different for stuff like this, but like I think this episode did a pretty fucking good job.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, they go on this date, and afterwards they're talking about it. Rachel's like, "Were you uncomfortable in there?" And Nick says something like kind of amazing, and I saw some people making fun of him in the Facebook group, but he said like, "You know, I grew up going to church my whole life, and you know, amen is amen." And I was like, that's very eloquent of you, Nick.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if they will. Rachel talks about how church is like really important to her. She grew up in the church and she is a religious person. And I don't know if that's going to be like a focus in. I think it's too soon to tell like what the focus is going to be for.
Can I give you a few cynical interpretations?
Yes,
I had?
Absolutely.
And this is how Griffin and I differ a little bit. I have a few thoughts. First of all, I have a feeling that the producers may have pushed her to put Nick in an environment like that.
Yeah.
And so obviously I'm not doubting her faith in any way, but I am thinking that she may have been pushed to bring him somewhere that would be predominantly African American.
I don't know that like, I think about like putting myself in the shoes of the main bachelor or bachelorette having to go and meet all these families, and like, I'm pretty good with a family. I'm pretty good with a family.
That is true.
being called out in front of an entire church congregation of any predominant race is so terrible. Fuck that. Being called out in like any large group setting of strangers that is like large enough, like fucking makes my bones dissolve.
Yeah.
And this was so much. A lot of people are like, oh God, Nick is tapping that thigh right now in this moment. And it's like, in this moment, I do not blame him, folks. Like, hey, everybody, please turn your attention to this date. And he's definitely dating 3 other women. And let's see what Revelations has to say about that. Like, this was so much. This was very much.
But yeah, I mean, Rachel's family seems incredible. They seem very similar to Rachel in that they're like, let's talk about it. You know, let's get it out here. Let's have a conversation about what it's going to be like for you, you know, and maybe you two feel comfortable with each other and with this challenge, but you're going to have to deal with other people that may not. I think it goes well. You know, I mean, this is going to be a challenge for us this upcoming season of having a conversation about race in the guise of a show like The Bachelor, Bachelorette that is so produced, that is so carefully edited to tell a specific kind of story. So we're going to have our interpretation. I think the date went well. I think it obviously was edited in a way to make it go well because she is the Bachelorette. Yeah. So
it went really well, which is weird because we were told during the Kimmel bit that he asked, like he specifically said, so I guess the hometowns didn't go very well. And she said, I think she confirmed it. And it's like, it actually went really fucking well.
Yeah. Well, she didn't confirm it. She was just like kind of shrugged a little bit. I guess she was kind of like shrugged it off. Yeah. She may not. I mean, we don't know who gets eliminated. She may not get eliminated. She may make it another week.
That would be weird since we know she's not going to win.
I know.
Anyway, so specifics about the date. She, God, the funniest sentence that was said out loud was her older sister is married to a white man, and he said, so let's just be frank and talk about it. You are a white. The phrasing there was so like unbelievable, and everybody like laughed it off. Like it was like I think kind of like a
no. He said, I can't help but notice.
You are a white.
Yeah, the other thing that happens is Nick talks to his mom for a while, and Nick talks to Rachel's mom, and her mom's asks if there are any red flags, and he says...
He does the job interview thing. Like, is it a red flag that I'm so into her and she's too perfect?
Yeah, he's like, I know that she's not, flawless, but... we communicate so well. And Rachel's mom's like, well, she has kind of a big personality. And he's like, well, I like her big personality. Mm-hmm. So he never actually says any concerns he has about their relationship. And then the date is over. Yeah. And Rachel doesn't say that she's in love with him.
Has she said it? At the end of the episode, we're trying to take an inventory of like who said it or not.
I think Vanessa did last week. Mm-hmm. And Corinne...
And his response was not great.
Corinne does this week.
Right.
And
Raven accidentally said it a while ago.
Yeah, but it was just like, I love this about you, or one of the things I love about you. And Rachel doesn't say it.
No.
And then, so we've just had two very emotional, like well put together dates of people of great maturity. And now we're going to Miami with Corinne.
Before we do that, can I steal you away?
Yeah.
I feel like when I am the one that leads us into the Jumbotron breaks, like you're the one that has to give me that home improvement stinger.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Do you want to do it again?
Yeah, sure. Can I steal you away?
Bow, 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 now, now.
That was really good, babe.
Thank you.
Yeah. We had some friends over yesterday when we were talking about the podcast, and they're like, so when are you going to get music for that part? They're like, I don't understand. I guess I don't understand, like, the question. We had some people in the comments of the last episode. They're like, I'm tired of the Tim Allen, ugh.
And then they were met with the response.
They were met with 100,000 people who were like, what the fuck are you talking about?
So many great Tim Allen YouTubes.
Yeah.
Was it the Genuine?
Oh my God,
pony
Ginny Wine's
video?
Pony with Tim Allen's.
That was, I had never seen that before. That's inspired.
I hadn't seen the music video before. Very suggestive, Genuine. You know, like very like erotically charged. Got a Jumbotron spot. If you want to get a message on the show, you can go to MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron and find out all the info on how to get a show on. It's really a message on. It's really easy. Whoops. Mixed up some words, didn't I? This one is for Lauren, and it's from Robert, who says, "Hi, Bunny. You are the best wife anyone could ask for. Not a minute goes by where I don't think of you. Thank you for being so sweet, kind, loving, and always being there to goof around with. Here's to many, many more years of being Rose Buddies. Love you always, Robert." Oh, sweet.
That's really sweet.
Very straightforward. I feel like each show that I participate in has a sort of a like a formula for these Jumbotron messages. Like for Adventure Zone, it's a lot of like D&D groups like thanking their dungeon masters for like leading them through a story. And in this one, it's just like, hey, straight up,
I love
real
you.
talk, I love you very much.
Mm-hmm. Can I read the next one?
As soon as I find it. Here's one. Super. Got 6% on that phone, so you better hurry.
Okay, this message is for Charlie. This is from Ryan. Dear Charlie, I am taking a break from feeding our cool baby just to let you know that I love you. You are a great mom and wife, and I am lucky to have you in my life.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
That's nice.
What I also like about this is I have to take a break from Hey, baby, you stay there for 1 second, and we're going to take a break from eating while I send a very important email, while I make a very important advertising purchase. Baby, this is also very exciting. In addition to the Jumbotron spots, we have a sponsor this week.
We have an actual sponsor.
We have our first sponsor, and it is Blue Apron. And Blue Apron, they've sent some copy here. Look what I'm tell the audience what I'm doing.
He's throwing it away.
Don't need the phone. Don't need to read copy points off of well, there might be a link. Hold on, I need the link.
Yeah, there's definitely a code.
There's probably a code. We've used Blue Apron for like a year now, and it's like fucking awesome, and I cannot imagine our lives without it. Basically, for $10 per person per meal, they send you all the ingredients that you need to make some really, really tasty stuff.
You should let me talk about it because you talk about it all the time.
Yeah, you should talk about it. Go ahead.
So things I love about Blue Apron. You get produce you wouldn't normally get. Like I had never bought a tomatillo before. I had never bought the kind of fish that is called barramundi.
Didn't even know that fish existed.
Did not know.
There are grains so ancient, they are forbidden. You will not find them at Whole Foods because they are too ancient for Whole Foods. I'm talking about farro.
The other thing...
Oh, go ahead.
I'm still going.
Please.
The other things that I like about it, when we had the baby, we knew for that month we were not going to be able to cook meals, so we just put it on hold.
You said, don't send us any, please.
Didn't have to like cancel any kind of membership. Just said, hey, let's take this month off. Also, I will say, our baby has a variety of allergies that mean that I have to eat differently. And so Griffin can get in there week to week and pick out meals that are more likely to work with my dietary needs.
Yeah, they have a few meals that you can choose from to get sent, and you can sort of also base it around your own dietary needs, or whether you're vegetarian or vegan or whatever, you can pick and choose around it. And the food is so good. Here are some of the upcoming meals. They have things like cashew chicken stir fry with tango mandarins and jasmine rice, roasted pork with apple, walnut, and farro salad, crispy barramundi with quinoa and roasted carrot salad, udon noodle soup with miso and soft-boiled eggs. A lot of really, really good stuff. Now, good news. You can check out this week's menu, and you can get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/rose. That is the hyperlink, and we've secured Rose. Thank you, Blue Apron, for this gift. It's seriously amazing. I feel like I'm always very enthusiastic, which I'm worried makes me sound like a shill, but like I learned how to fucking cook Blue Apron, and it feeds me like several times a week, and it is like, I think, just the absolute best stuff. So,
and it's a great thing to do when you're watching The Bachelor.
Yeah, sure. Again, it's blueapron.com/rose. Let's get back into it.
Okay.
Hello, and welcome to Podphone. What type of podcast are you looking for?
You have chosen Funny podcasts about bad movies.
Rated R. May we recommend The Flophouse?
3 friends talk about bad movies and make each other and you laugh.
Rated R. The Flophouse is playing at your ears.
If you download it. Right now. Or whenever.
Rated R. To purchase tickets to The Flophouse, you don't need to do that, just download it. The Flophouse, rated R, for nudity, I guess.
Miami.
Welcome. The corn says, welcome to Miami. And I broke into the Will Smith song in my head. You know that one? Hey, were you down with Big Willie style? Or what was your Will Smith era? Because I know we have some differences in terms of the generational. Just dropped my phone.
Generational.
Okay, not generational, but
that's a little excessive.
Half, a few years divide. And so for you, I don't know, maybe it's parents don't understand. But for me, it was Big Willie style.
What are you asking?
What's your Will Smith era? What's your favorite Smith?
Oh.
Yeah.
Fresh Prince is really where I got to know him.
That's where we all got to know him. But I think that musically
and then Men in Black is probably where I really grew to love him.
Okay, so you got on the ground floor of the Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy his music back then? Were you parents just don't understand in summertime?
I enjoyed his music, but I didn't seek it out. I didn't own any of it.
You didn't sort of the feel good, no cuss vibe. I liked it. I liked his no cuss vibe because it's hard to hear that stuff in music. It's challenging to hear it, the cussing.
I didn't really think about that part very much.
It's just I'd like to see some of these hip hop artists write one verse without a curse. That's a Will Smith quote from one of his songs.
I also liked him in Independence Day.
He was very good in Independence Day. Yeah, great. He's great in every movie. So Hancock.
Never saw that.
I think that song was about Eminem. He was singing about Eminem, and he's like, I'd like to see Eminem write one verse without a curse.
Well, Eminem called him out.
Oh, did he?
Eminem said Will Smith doesn't have to cuss in his records. Well, I do. So F him and F you too.
Well, I feel like there's an element of truth to that, don't you think? Eminem hates cussing so much because we all do. Hi, folks. This is Griffin. I cuss on this podcast sometimes. I don't want to, but it's I know people expect it and love it. It's my.
I'm like the Will Smith of this podcast.
You're basically the Will Smith
because I very rarely cuss.
But when you do it, it's the fucking best thing ever in the world. Rachel cusses once a month. And when she does, it is I'm shocked. It makes me jealous because I cuss I cuss so much. We've been doing a lot of interviews for the Mabim TV show, which launches this Thursday on CISO. Go check it out. We did an interview with TV Guide, and reading my quotes, every single one of them, it's expletive deleted, and it's oops, sorry, TV Guide, didn't even realize when I was talking to you, TV Guide interviewer, that I was cussing up a storm.
What happened to you, Griffin? Where does that come from?
Okay, so I swear
because your brothers don't do that.
I guess not, but in middle school, I started to realize man, I'm cussing a lot, and it's because I hung out with a bunch of kids who just cussed a whole bunch. And I feel it was kind of tough for me to walk it back from, and I wouldn't do it around the fan.
Were you in the preteen Navy?
Yeah, I was in the preteen Navy. I was in the JROTC. No, I don't know. I cussed a lot during middle school. Because everybody that I was friends with at my middle school was just hard cussing folks.
And whatever you do in middle school, you have to take with you the rest of your life.
Maybe not, but it kind of stuck.
Can we spend some time in Miami now?
Please, let's go to Miami. I just want to say I love Will Smith's whole ethic.
Wouldn't it be great if he was the musical act on their date?
Oh, God.
It's a shame we didn't get to see that.
It's what even song? What song even would he do?
Or Pitbull? What if it had been Pitbull?
Pitbull was probably playing a concert somewhere nearby. I'm sure if you dialed up the decibels on one of the scenes where they're out in the open, you could pick up a Pitbull concert happening somewhere.
So Corinne meets Nick at a quote exclusive mall in Miami. And they are going to go on a little shopping trip together. Corinne knows a lot of the retail workers in this mall on a first name basis. And so she enters the store, and Nick says it's like Christmas for a lot of these individuals. And they are trying on stuff. Corinne is telling us that your dressing room is your holy ground. You bring stuff in there, you find somebody, and you just try everything on, and you can make decisions in the dressing room. She's getting champagne.
The dressing room is your holy place.
Yeah,
she says over and over again.
Oh, I wrote down holy ground.
Holy ground.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, it's holy.
They're drinking champagne. They're trying things on. Nick tries on a sweatshirt that he says costs $650.
Yeah, well, he tries on sweatpants, and he's like, Corinne, I'm trying on $800 sweatpants, but it's okay because the sweatshirt's only $650.
And he tells the camera, if Corinne and I end up together, I might have to get a few more jobs.
This whole date, okay, I feel like we need to talk about Corinne is getting a different edit now. She is no longer getting the villain edit. And that is the edit that she has been getting. Full stop. You cannot deny that shit. And this sequence was so, fucking...
It was like 80s movie montage.
It was like Clueless. It was seriously, it was like a fun, let's go, Robin Sparkles, let's go to the mall. Come on, we're going clothes shopping. Don't worry about it. It's...
dressing room, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Daddy's Amex. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Straight up movie montage. And it was and then they went out to get lunch or something afterwards. And it was, sorry gang, kind of cute. It was a complete tonal shift from this woman is all she does is fight with the other women in the house. And she has a nanny. How crazy, how privileged is that?
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point in that it could have been edited very differently. Because so she buys Nick some clothes, at least that's how they make it look. And they spend over $3,000 on just a shirt and pants.
And a nice pea coat, I think.
Yeah. And...
Not that makes it pea coats should not cost $3,000.
No. And this is in the context of the other women who have had very kind of emotional, serious dates. And Vanessa, who's about to have a very mature date too. And so they could have edited to make Corinne seem just flat out gross because they're spending all this money. They're going shopping. Corinne's not revealing really any kind of depth that we didn't already see in her. But instead they just make it look like they're having a good time.
Yeah.
They're just having fun.
Which kind of confirms my suspicion that Corinne's not an evil person. She's definitely done some stuff that's
she's privileged.
Kind of gross. But she's privileged. But I think she's just kind of young and pretty goofy. And also, we didn't talk about this. I've also talked about how I suspect that the women in the house don't hate Corinne in the way that the TV show wants us to believe that they do. And during Jimmy Kimmel, when Rachel came out and announced that she was going to be the Bachelorette, Jimmy asks her about Corinne and is like, was she just miserable to be around? And Rachel's like, I love Corinne. I'm team Corinne. And everybody around the house liked her too.
Yeah.
I really don't think she's that bad of a person. She puts her foot in her mouth a lot. And I think it's fair to say that she is a privileged person. Although I also think the show fucking played that shit up as much as is humanly possible. See the character of Raquel in every episode leading up to this one, which is I don't want to excuse the genuinely yucky stuff that she said and did throughout the season, but this kind of made it evident that she's not an awful evil person. It's just that is who the show needed her to be, and now just like that, it's fun, let's go shopping. And then the show, because we are in the venerable final four, she is a good fun person.
Yeah. So she tells Nick on their date that she loves him. They're out at the restaurant, and
that she does love him. She loves him.
Yeah, she does this really weird pause where she's they're sitting at the restaurant table, and she's like, I really, really fell for you, and I ... love you.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I like that.
Weird.
I like that better than I do love you. I do love you. I do love you.
So after they have their meal, it is time to go meet Daddy.
Nick asks, do you call him Dad or Daddy? And she's like, Daddy, of course. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Literally the next shot is her dad talking to her mom, and it's just like, oh, let's see what Daddy has to think of Nick. And it's like, you can't call yourself that.
Yeah, you figure out quickly why Corinne refers to herself in the third person all the time.
There's a lot of referring. You learn a lot about why Corinne is the way that she is during this day. There's a lot of referring to yourself in the third person. There's a lot of just eating the biggest, just like wettest olives I've ever seen in my whole life.
Yeah, so it's Corinne's dad, her mom, her sister, and you guessed it, Raquel, her adult nanny. And this is very clearly just like a chance for Corinne to be like, this is totally normal. This is totally normal that this woman is my nanny. And so the family addresses it very quickly at the top because Corinne says the women think it's weird that I have an adult nanny.
I'm so torn because like I don't know how I feel. There's a lot of unknowns, right?
Well, so here's what the mom says. So the mom says, well, Raquel's part of our family. She's been with us for 17 years. She's like a second mom to you guys, which is what I thought. Okay, well, maybe this is a woman that has actually helped raise them.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she's a nanny. That's what nannies do. That's why you hire a nanny.
The weird thing is that she is still doing things for Corinne that Corinne clearly does not need help doing.
Well, I mean, at this point, I think they still use the short hand
this woman
terminology.
This woman is still making her bed. That is the issue.
I mean, that's what I think that's what a live-in, I don't know what the right terminology is. It is a very intimate, very sweet relationship that Raquel has with this family.
Yes.
Nick, Corinne goes off to have a conversation with her dad, which we'll talk about. Nick, the first person he has a conversation with that we see is Raquel, and Raquel talks about how she loves Corinne, and she grew up raising Corinne, and she's very, very protective of Corinne, and it was really sweet. Like it didn't feel inauthentic in any way. She says, I treat Corinne like I treat one of my own children.
I guess the issue more is not that Corinne has somebody that is providing her with this help, but that everything about Corinne suggests that she is immature. And that this is just another example of her not doing things that most adults do.
Right.
So it's less about Raquel and the fact that she has an adult nanny and more like this is symptomatic of her making choices that reflect that she is behaving a little bit younger than you would hope for.
I just feel like I feel like this show has been like gross about Raquel, the show has been gross about Raquel because it treated Raquel as a character trait of Korn's, which is she has an adult nanny. There's that whole fucking thing about how she has a new nanny now at wherever they were at, St. Thomas's place, St. Elmo's Fire. She's got a new nanny now, and oh, my old nanny's gonna be jealous. It's like, oh, that's not how any of that works. But like the whole time, Raquel was treated as this like character deficiency of Corinne's. Like Raquel was this like living embodiment of Corinne's entitlement.
That's fair, yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people kind of ran with that, like in the viewership of the show, and she kind of became a running joke. And like we've said this in past episodes, it's not like this is a real person. This is a real person who like has been sort of treated as a prop by this show, which sucks. And it's kind of hard to divorce like how this show has treated her with the fact that like she's a real person and she's like she seems so fucking sweet
and they all love each other
and they all seem to really love each other like a lot. I don't know.
We do get a scene though. I mean, there's something to be said for saying that someone you've hired to take care of you is like family, and then still letting them clean up after you when you all eat dinner together, which is what we see on the show, which is a little uncomfortable to watch.
Sure.
But okay, anyway, let's talk about Corinne and her dad.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Her dad does make everybody eat olives because they are I don't know why I didn't piece this together. Olympios, I think is their last name.
Yeah, they're Greek.
A fiercely Greek family, as evidenced by the fact that her dad was like, eat these fucking olives.
He like marinates his own olives.
Marinates his own olives, and you will eat them and you will love them.
Yeah. They do this thing.
I would have left. I would have been like,
I know,
sorry.
Griffin and I do not like olives. It would have been awful.
Especially not these big fucking plump ass eyeball ass olives that they had them snacking on. These fucking little honeydew melon sized olives. No, thank you.
They do this thing in hometowns where everybody has to go off into separate rooms and talk to their family members. And it's supposed to give us a chance, I guess, to see how they're all really taking in what is happening. And they do this thing where people always have to go into bedrooms and sit on beds to talk. And it always feels weird to me, but it felt especially weird when Corinne and her dad both get in bed together to talk about...
I mean, not under the covers. Yes,
No.
I agree with you, but... Yeah,
but it's weird. It's weird. They're like laying in bed talking about Nick.
And her dad is so concerned about, is Nick going to be able to provide for you? Are you comfortable with being the breadwinner for this family when Nick is the, quote, stay-at-home mom in a relationship? Yuck. And Corinne basically says, like, yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with being the sole provider for this unit. I would enjoy that. There's a lot in this date and in the date with Vanessa's family. There's a lot of talk about like Nick's future, and it's like,
yeah, the dad's kind of dad out a little bit.
The dad's dad out, but there's also like, as me, Griffin, the like longtime fan of this franchise, I can say like we have like 25 pretty solid empirical, evidential examples of what his future is going to be. And it's going to be like he bases a career off being on this television show, which is like, I'm not saying that to be crass. It's like you were on a gigantic, monolithic, Disney-owned television show for a while. Like, it's a pretty good setup. Like, we have an idea of, like, what his life is going to be like after the show. Maybe he might write a book and may do okay. Otherwise, he's going to, like, sell things on Instagram and be successful there.
Yeah.
Or maybe he'll be on more episodes of this show and get some money there. Maybe he'll host an after show for this show. Mm-hmm. But, like, he's a media personality now. And there's, like, I don't know, it's weird to me, this conversation of, like, well, Nick's not going to do anything after this. Like, he'll do something. He was on a major television show.
Interesting is that, so... Corinne is a business owner,
It's not clear.
I don't know. But anyway, that's what's weird to me is that she could be promoting the hell out of her business and, you know, quote, be on it for the wrong reasons, but it could be good for her brand or whatever.
Let's figure this out right now.
And she hasn't ever talked about what she does.
We've been going so long this episode, and that's a shame because I'm so tired. What do you think Corinne does? Let's lock this shit down right now.
I mean, I think we could find out if we Googled. I'm pretty sure the information's out there.
Do you think it's olives? Do you think it's an olive-based sort of...
No.
And what if it's all of you and it's... Come on. What if it's so it's two things. There's olive branch, and that is that they sell the olives, right? But then they take the leftover brine and then they turn it into cosmetics and lotions and the fancy oils for the skin. And that's all of you. And then that's how you get that fucking under the Tuscan sun, just like Greek, that fucking Gatsopoulos skin. You know what I mean?
I mean, I like that. I think that's sexy.
I love that.
And it lends itself to Instagram.
Sexy.
But I think it's more like, I don't know, more focused on like machinery parts for wholesale farm equipment. Like nothing particularly like exotic.
Have you seen the machine they use to harvest olives off an olive tree?
No.
Google that shit
tell me
immediately.
about it.
It's like a fucking, it like rolls up to the olive tree and these two arms come out, like grab the olive tree, and then basically an upside down, like an inverted umbrella, like unwraps. And then these two arms just shake the shit out of the olive tree and all the olives fall out into the umbrella.
How
Which
do
like
you know
harvests
about
it.
this?
I've seen pictures. It's like fucking really cool.
Huh.
It's really cool. Maybe they do that. Maybe that's their. We're being a little racist, I guess. Assuming that this Greek family's company
does present olives.
He's very olive obsessed. I don't know what to say.
It's not like we just said, "Oh, they're Greek; they must like olives." They literally eat olives that he made on the show.
With the pride of a person who harvested, who grew and nurtured and loved these olives.
He also presents 15-year single malt Scotch
with big ice cubes in it.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
I'm not like a Scotch. I'm not even like a heavy liquor dude, but I know like. That's not right.
And so Corinne's dad asked Nick the same thing he asked Corinne, which is basically like, are you going to be able to provide for my daughter? But before Nick really answers, he says, because Corinne believes that you can. And Nick's like, well, I'm glad to hear her say that. And that's kind of how it ends. He doesn't really ever confirm or deny. And so then he asks the question that he asks all the dads, which is, if Corinne's into this and we want to get engaged, could you support it? And the dad says, you know, if I know Corinne is happy, that's good enough for me. And if you can be happy with her, and, that's about it.
Yeah.
Corinne's dad does tell us, the viewer, that he thinks that Corinne is the lid to Nick's pot, which I couldn't decide as a feminist woman how I felt about that. But I mean, it seemed like a sweet thought.
I don't know. I've seen so many fucking commercials for Beauty and the Beast watching this show that I thought of it like, I'm Mr. Lidsworth. And I'm Mrs. Potts is actually a character in the show.
And that's the end of their date.
That's the end of their date. Let's move on to the final date with Vanessa.
We're going to Montreal.
That's not it.
They go to Montreal.
Yeah, but you hit that T. Like they say the T.
Montreal.
You barely hit that T. You tickled that T.
I think my pronunciation is...
We need our Bachelor Canada friends.
Très bien.
Here. By the way, speaking of Bachelor Canada friends, Jasmine posted the most wonderful video... Most wonderful Instagram of her and Kevin? Kyle? No, Kevin.
No, Kevin.
Sorry.
We wanted it to be Kyle.
No, it's Kevin. I like Kevin. Her and Kevin on a helicopter and just a bunch of just knees. Just a bunch of big
She said, this is
knees.
for my Rose buddies.
They know exactly
Here
what
are
we
our knees.
need. What we need is those Canadian knees. They go to Montreal. They go to Montreal and... a lot of y'all forgot about Vanessa, and she shows up with some fucking heat.
She does. So she reminds us that she is a teacher, and we are going with Nick to meet her students.
We knew she was a special needs teacher. She talks about how she is a teacher of adult special needs students who are all over 21.
Yeah.
And they surprise her with like a big greeting.
They're all standing out in the hallway and they're all holding roses.
And immediately everybody's crying. Everybody's crying.
She has a lot of big fans at that school.
And they go to a classroom and she takes all of her students and she flips into the most hardcore teacher mode. Like it is literally like she was bitten by a teacher and then a full moon came about and she was just like, okay, so we are going to talk about
they're going to make, so if you remember in the first episode, her students made a scrapbook for her to give Nick. Now they're going to make a scrapbook of her and Nick's adventures together. And she uses it as an opportunity, like a teaching moment for them. And it's really nice. She seems like a really good teacher. It seems like she's got a really good rapport with her students.
Do want to point out that they make a little tableau of their 0G flight date, and Nick leads off with saying like, so basically they fly us right up next to outer space, and that's what makes the zero gravity. And I wanted to be like, but that's not how they like fly in like a specific like parabolic arc that makes you like free fall, and it's not you're in outer. They fly this plane to outer space. Like if they could do that, NASA would just do that. You get that, right, Nicholas?
Nick hits it off particularly with Kevin, which is one of Vanessa's students. Kevin does tell Nick that he is lucky to be with Vanessa.
Yeah.
Which we all kind of feel.
Yeah, we all. I don't think there's a person alive that doesn't agree with Kevin's analysis. I feel like this. It was all very like. It was really sweet, and it was really. I think it would have been easy to come off like really exploitative, and I really don't. I really feel like it was. I feel like it was super sweet, and it was like just like Vanessa saying like this is what my day to day is like. These are the people who are really important to me, and these are the like people who I see every single day, and like.
Yeah, no, it's not like there's like a lot of high fives and a lot of like, aren't you just the best? Like it's just people.
But I wouldn't trust this show if you had told me that like they were going to go on a date and we were going to meet the students in her special needs like class. I wouldn't have trusted this show with that like experience, right? But like it, not only was it really sweet, it also like I feel like I learned a lot more about Vanessa, and we don't get that from like hometowns where it's like I want to show you my football field, high school football field where I threw all my touchdowns.
No kidding. Well, it says something to the quality of the women.
The women are just so fucking good, guys.
Yeah. So after they go to the classroom, Vanessa says, we're going to first go to my mom, and her side of the family, and then to my dad's side, because her parents are divorced. And so they go to her mom's first, and there are, quote, and this is Vanessa saying this, 15 loud Italians, which include some of her friends, her grandparents, some of the kids of her siblings, her aunts there, her mom's there. It is a big old group.
The choice of music that The Bachelor makes, by the way, for this scene.
I didn't even notice.
Oh my God.
Is it like...
If there had been like a fucking scene in like the Rescue Rangers cartoon where they break into like a pizzeria, like that straight up bing, 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 like really hitting that concertina like full bore, like that is basically
I didn't even
what
notice.
we're
I
doing.
was looking more at the food on the table, which was all very like pasta oriented.
Really good,
yeah. And some of Vanessa's family members actually, like her grandparents actually speak Italian. Like this is no joke, Italian family. And they have a lot of conversations on a mint green couch with
I would have said pistachio.
Pistachio, that's good. I think more of a mint. I would say mint.
Well, agree to disagree. We don't have to have a fight about everything.
So Nick has a conversation with Vanessa's mom, and I really love this because this happens a lot with The Bachelor. Vanessa's mom's like, what did you like about Vanessa? And Nick, just thinking he's the cutest thing ever, says, when she got out of the limo, I liked her right away. And her mom is like, no. Vanessa has a lot to offer.
Insufficient. The tenor of the conversation basically for this entire date was, you do not deserve our angel daughter.
I know she's attractive. Everybody's going to say she's attractive. Nick, I don't need to hear that. I need to hear why you appreciate the fact that she is an exceptional woman. It was really good.
I love when families are like, yes, of course, our family member who you are trying to court is a perfect human being. The perfect human being. What are you doing here, you clown? Like, every single person was like, I just feel like you're going to destroy her perfect record of being a perfect human being.
Yeah, her sister also kind of leans into Nick and says, hey, you guys live in two literal different countries. Have you talked about what's going to happen next? And Nick's like, well, not yet. And her sister's like, well, you better get there. Vanessa is somebody who puts her happiness aside for relationships, and I'm scared for her. And Nick understands, like, this is a big deal because they are really leaning into him on it. And there's a lot of alluding to Vanessa's horrible breakup, whatever it was, before this show.
I don't remember. They probably talked about it at some point. I don't
know, but her whole family acts as if they really had to put her back together after that was over, and they like are not looking forward to having to do that again if Nick doesn't follow through.
Yeah.
We also get some scenes with what I guess is her brother.
I wasn't 100% sure. There was a huge family, and they introduced all of the family in like 4 seconds, so I don't exactly remember.
The brother has a lot of look.
It's a cool look.
It's worth
the kind of look
out.
I wish I could have pulled off when I was his age.
Yeah. There is a gold chain involved.
Good luck.
And yeah, one thing that Vanessa's sister says to her, which I think is very wise, is, do you know what Nick is planning on doing after this? And I thought that is a really clever way of asking that question. I mean, like what happens after the show? How is Nick going to leverage this experience to go on to his professional life? Like,
which,
that's
again,
a real question.
It's a real question, but I also think we know the answer to that because you can look at so many other like people who have done it. Like, it would. Can you imagine how wild it would be if it was just like, and here's my realtor who sold me my house. It's Nick from The Bachelor. Remember him? Who is our waiter looks so familiar tonight. It's Nick from The Bachelor. Like, he's going to keep doing Bachelor stuff.
Yeah, but there's something about hearing him say it, like really copping to it, of like, oh, I'm just going to leverage this to sell energy drinks.
It's just like no shade. I don't think there's any shame in that.
No shade,
like,
but
it's what you do. You're a media personality.
It takes some courage to just be honest that is what you're planning on doing.
Yeah.
Especially if you are getting ready to get engaged to somebody who teaches adults with special needs, like does a very like noble, heroic thing, and you're saying, I'm going to use my Instagram account to sell products.
Yeah.
There's a difference between those two careers.
That you've chosen, yes.
Yeah. So those are the dates.
Oh, and then we also go talk to her dad.
Oh, yeah. The dad. Okay. I forgot about the dad. So we go to talk to Vanessa's dad, and Vanessa is a little apprehensive about this.
Yeah, so this was the opposite of her mom's side of the family, who is like this huge Italian family. This was just her dad and I guess stepmom. And really all we most of the time we have here is spent with Nick asking for her father's permission. And holy shit, does it not go great.
Yeah, so Nick asks, and the dad is hesitant, and then also makes Nick relive the multiple times that he has already done this with other people's fathers.
Yeah, like he is the several times, like whenever they're talking about like their relationship, Vanessa's dad is just like, but you said this to everybody else, right? Like you've said this to 3 other dads in the last like couple weeks.
And Nick tries to hedge. She's like, yeah, in a way. I mean, I ran it by them. And he's like, it's a yes or no question.
What do you mean by ran it by them? Yeah. We brought it up. We decided to table the conversation ultimately, but
And so the dad asks what his blessing would mean, and like if Nick were to have kids, like what
he would want from like somebody who was asking for his
heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Heavy stuff. And it seems like the dad is not going to give his blessing, which is like, okay, I get it. And Nick seemed to get it. And then all of a sudden the dad out of nowhere is like, so
well, I do give my blessing.
I give you my blessing. Which it was like, wait, what happened here?
You just want to like put the irons to him for a little
or like
bit.
end the conversation. Yeah. Just like get out.
Yeah, so it goes okay with Vanessa's family. I would say like it is definitely the coolest reception that he receives from all of the hometown families. And then we get a cut of him back in New York, and all of the women sort of returning and sort of giving their spiels. Raven saying she's...
Oh, wait,
Oh, boy.
Before we get there, though...
Oops.
Vanessa gets upset because Vanessa realizes that Nick has asked all the dads for blessings.
Which, like, this is another thing that I'm like, Vanessa...
Yeah, we were like, haven't you seen the show before?
Seen any season of this show before? Of course he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they go back to New York and the women all show up and everybody's having their own, like, recapping their own sort of experience. Raven's nervous because she didn't say I love you.
So is Rachel. Vanessa is starting to get upset because she has put all her feelings out there and has gotten nothing back yet from Nick. So
yeah,
there's a lot of angst.
And then, so we see Vanessa, like, walking into the hotel and we think, like, she's about to go have a confrontation with Nick. because we see like some legs walking towards a door, and then a knock on the door. Nick answers it, and it's Andy, who gives him a chilly "Hello, Nick," like a full blown Jerry Seinfeld "Hello, Newman," and then cut to black. Andy was the Bachelorette like 3 or 4 Bachelorettes ago, and that was the first season Nick was
the
on.
first one to reject Nick.
And Nick was her runner-up, and she ended up going with Josh, who you may remember from Bachelor in Paradise.
Yeah, it did not work out.
No, because he sucks. And
so I don't know.
And then after the final rose for Andy's season, that is when Nick outed that they had sex, and she didn't pick him, and how dare she make love to him and not end up marrying him, and it was really gross and shitty. And now here she is.
Yeah, so I don't know if we're supposed to, I mean, maybe we're supposed to think that she like wants to reconcile or resolve some kind of feelings, but I'm really thinking it's another one of the old Bachelor, like, hey, good luck out there, here's some advice from my experience that I want to impart to you. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah, no, it's like a twist that plays well on paper. It is like we need something for the end of the Hometowns episode. What if we got Andy to show up? Hey, Andy, will you be in our show? She's yeah, I guess so. I don't really know what I'm going to say. I really think it's going to be like before the first commercial break, like it will be resolved. Yeah. And it'll be Andy saying like, I'm sorry about how things turned out, but I really want the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the preview for next week made it seem like their conversation was very chilly. It would be cool if that's how it actually turned out, because like I do think the way that it broke down in that after the final rose was like fucking super shitty. But I'm pretty certain it will be like, I think it's time for you to find love.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and then we get a lot of previews of him out in the snow in a suit,
kneeling with a prayer pose,
and his face is very wet.
Yeah, my prediction. I think I gotta believe Rachel goes home. I can't imagine them taking Rachel to like final 3, and we know that she's not going to win it. Like that's wild.
Yeah, I mean, or it could be Corinne and Rachel gets one more week.
2 more weeks maybe, because we don't know how like the rose ceremonies are going to break down. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure final 2, I don't know. I don't know if Corinne's going to make it. It would be pretty unexpected if she makes it to the final 2.
No, it seems like it has to be Vanessa and Raven.
They're both just doing so good. So yeah. That was Hometowns. Just a really good episode, as evidenced by the fact that we've gone so long.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's just a lot to talk about, and like all of the dates were like, there were a lot of really genuine moments. There was like a lot of development for all of like the contestants still left on the show. I feel like it was a pretty good episode for Nick. There was a lot of the tried and true sort of like, gotta get daddy's permission.
Yeah.
But like I really feel like it was a really good episode. Like I don't know if this whole season had been as like genuine as this, I don't think I would have had as big a problem as I did with sort of the mid section of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really good, and now I'm really interested to see where it goes. Like I'm interested in how it's going to wrap up now. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who is on the Facebook group, and go and join the Rose Buddies Facebook group. It's a real fun place to be. I'm like so tired that I'm actually having trouble forming words. Thank you to Ariel, who actually is watching Henry right now because he woke up. Thank you, executive producer Ariel. We will make sure you get your IMDb credit for this one.
We haven't been to the P.O. Box in a little while, so if you send us something, don't fret.
Please don't be upset at us.
It's probably still sitting there.
It's a lot.
I am going back to work this week.
You're just going back to work this week? It's going to be weird that like we're not going to be in the same house that we've been in for 3 months together. Yeah. So yes, that is the episode. Thank you all very much for listening. Thank you to Maximum Fun for having us. Go to MaximumFun.org. Check out all the shows there. They're really great. Mabim Bam, the podcast I do, we have a TV show that comes out on Thursday on CISO. You can go to CISO.com. Or go to CISO's YouTube page. You can watch one of the episodes for free. I'm really happy with it. And
I may or may not be in a very,
Rachel is
very
in an episode.
Short moment as a pregnant woman.
It's a bummer. You had you had some good stuff in that
Griffin
scene.
was a big fan of my acting
you were
ability.
Really good.
I did not make very much time on the show.
Hey, that wasn't my fault. Don't blame me. You know,
Who should I blame?
I don't know, Hollywood. Holly weird, right? Like, what do they even do out there? I hear a lot of people talking about Chipotle, and it's like, Hollywood? What do you even do out there? You know?
Uh-huh.
A lot of people talking about Jamba Juice, and it's like the left coast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what even is a Jamba Juice? So...
Those celebutants.
Celebutants, like who? Paris Hilton? Paris
Hilton.
Huh?
It's like 1999.
Yeah, it's like I hear a lot of people talking about Nicole Richie these days, and I'm like, Lionel's kid?
My buddy Lionel?
Lionel's kid? We're talking about Lionel's kid? It's like Holly weird.
She all grown up now?
Yeah, it's like a lot of people are like all talking about Brooke Shields, and it's like, huh? Wow. Holly weird. So, anyway, Beverly Hills, so I guess, you know what I mean?
I'm just waiting for you to finish the show.
I can keep going on this Hollywood rant for a while.
I want to go to bed.
Me too. It's very late. Anyway, thanks for listening to Rose Buddies. I'm Griffin McElroy.
I'm Rachel McElroy.
When you're ready.
Stay with us on this journey of joy.
Spoiler alert.
She ends up with Soldier Boy.
Right reasons, right reasons. Can't get up all for seasons.
I'm Biz.
And I'm Teresa, and we host the weekly comedy podcast One Bad Mother,
We celebrate our moments of parenting genius.
as well as our failures.
Just like, we're going to have hot dogs. And I'm like, oh, no, we're having fun. Everybody loves hot dogs.
Yeah.
And he just like smashes that thing right on my chest. And then I'm just crying in the middle of like kid space while people are like literally dancing with their children.
Parenting can be sad and painfully funny at the same time.
So join us each week as we admit that this is hard, but we're getting really good at it.
Find us at MaximumFun.org or wherever you download podcasts.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture. Artist owned.
Listener supported.